Okay, we're in Genesis chapter 45. You don't remember, we just came through what I've called one of the most heartwarming. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, look who just walked in.
Don Graydon.
Pastor Don Gomison.
Yep.
Very nice to see you.
I forget timing.
Very nice to see you, sir. Been a lot of water under the bridge in the last
Yeah,
3 years or so. I understand you live in Ohio?
no, I live
In
in
Indiana,
Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Fort Wayne, Indiana, not that
And
far
I'm
away.
saying Michigan, I appreciate Indiana a lot more than Ohio, just so you know.
Why,
Well,
what did he want to do? Beat Fort Wayne?
Except for
Well,
they
we'll,
didn't win the national championship this year, didn't they, in football?
So we'll catch up.
Yeah, they did.
We'll catch up after the Sunday school class. So we're in chapter 45 and we just came through what I've called probably the most heartwarming story in the book of Genesis. It kind of comes out of nowhere. You don't really get warning of it. Judah's been presented as just kind of a seedy character. The story with Tamar, his daughter-in-law, unwittingly treating her like a prostitute, probably wanting to kill her when he said, let her be burnt. When he finds out that she's pregnant. He's the one that was responsible for selling Joseph into Egypt, or he seems to have been the leader. He really wanted to kill him. He just, that was Judah. And then out of nowhere, there's this story when Benjamin is on the line and Joseph really wants to find out who these brothers are, because in my view, he's reading between the lines. Up till now, he's saying, you ain't getting Benjamin back. If you think I'm going to send my brother back to you people until I find out who's who and what's what, that's not happening. So he's kept Simeon hostage to get hold of Benjamin. And I think as far as it goes, that was plan A. He was going to get Benjamin. You bring Benjamin back. He didn't say Benjamin. Your brother, I want to see that younger brother. And they had a feeling, if we take Benjamin back to Egypt, we're never going to see him again. So Jacob didn't want to do it. So God put the squeeze on him through this famine, and they had no choice. So they go back to Egypt with Benjamin. And now they're just, what happens, right? Que sera, sera. And so Joseph sees Benjamin, and he's not Benjamin is not going, this is what I think, Benjamin is not going back to Canaan. There is no circumstance where Joseph is going to be so won over or, satisfied with their answers that he's going to say, okay, not only am I going to let you go back to Canaan, I'm going to go ahead and let my younger brother Benjamin go back to Canaan with you. I'll see you all never, Benjamin. That's not going to happen. And so he has this meeting and he puts the squeeze on him and he says, and here's his play. He says, I'm taking Benjamin, basically. He puts the silver cup in Benjamin's pouch or sack, chases him down, uses his own brother's favorite he's using the family heirloom deception against them, and he gets Benjamin back on the pretext of him taking this cup. He says, you guys can go in peace. That's it. I'm taking Benjamin. Along comes Judah in this emotional moment. Spurred, no planning. I'm not sure by anyone, no planning, utterly unexpected, even in the story, utterly unexpected. Judah frantically kneels before him and begs for the life of Benjamin by offering himself to take his place as the servant, as the slave of Joseph, knowing full well what that means, because he's the author of all of this. He's the reason he's kneeling before Joseph. So he's offering to do to himself what he did to Joseph. And he knows full well what slavery in Egypt means. And so does Joseph.
Of course, he doesn't know that it's Joseph.
Yeah. And so Joseph, I think at this point, I'm not sure that it was this big test. Okay, now I see. Now I'll really do the plan I was thinking all along. which is I'll bring the whole family up. I'm not sure he was thinking any of that. It's hard to tell, but I think plan A was to get Benjamin. But once he sees this, he is overwhelmed. That's this is the last line of chapter 44, or second to the last verse. Let me remain a slave and send the boy free. I will be your slave in his place. And at this point, that's Judah's plan A now, on the spur of the moment. And he's got no larger plan either. Where's the plan of God? Where's the plan of God? They're going to be slaves in a land that is not theirs for 400 years. Then I will judge the nation whom they serve. And then afterward, they will come out with many possessions and they're going to return to the land of Canaan. Where's that larger plan? Well, I'll tell you where it is. It's in the mind of God, and probably in nobody else's mind. These people are just responding to the urgencies of the moment. That's what I think. So I tend not to give them, I tend not to implant in them knowledge of the whole story that we read about from beginning to end, because their behavior doesn't seem to jibe with that kind of thinking. These are real people going through real events. It's emotional, it's traumatizing, it's brutal, all of it. But Judah now, the patriarch of the family of Jesus steps up. I'm not saying he's a type of Christ in this case, because the New Testament doesn't say that he is, but he offers himself. Sort of the first, setting the family name off to a good start that will finally be realized in Christ, even though nowhere in the New Testament is this story ever held up as anything like neither is Isaac, for that Abraham's almost sacrifice of Isaac. Neither one of those stories. But that's what happens. Spur of the moment, no plan. And so we end up in chapter 45, where Joseph now has to respond to this offer by Judah. What's he going to do? Is he going to say, nope, I'm taking Benjamin. I don't trust you people. I'm taking Benjamin. You guys can go back to Canaan, or I'll kill you, one or the other, because he can do either one he wants. And so now that's chapter 45. Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him, and he cried, "Make everyone go out from me." So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, because he didn't have to make himself known. Just go. I'm the administrator of Egypt. I'm the governor. You people can go. Take your food, go. But he doesn't do that. He makes himself known. He wept aloud so that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. I don't know about proximity here. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph." And then he asked them a question. "Is my father still alive?" Hey, Joseph, you might want to give him a chance to digest this new information that's just come to light, because it's pretty significant, right? But he moves right on to the question. His brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. I think there's some other translations of terrified or something like that. You can look it up.
Yeah.
But so everybody's disoriented. Now that he said it, if he is Joseph, now what are they thinking?
Uh-oh.
So I think terror is probably, because who's going to lie about this? What governor of Egypt is going to pretend like he's a slave? It's insider. First of all, it's insider information.
They never said the name Joseph. When they talked about the brother that died, they didn't call
No.
him Joseph. So
And who even in Egypt even knows that that's what happened? Nobody knows. I mean, I'm sure Joseph, he told the story because he told the story back at the prison, but nobody here is in on the story that he was sold into Egypt by his brothers, or if they were, there's no evidence. Excuse me. Can I hit? Nope, that doesn't work. How do you get to mute in Zoom? Do you know? Thought it was tab or huh?
It's like alt space.
Alt space. Yeah. Okay. That's good to know now after I sneezed twice. Anyway, So this tremendous moment where in their minds, they have no idea what he's going to do because they just found out that it's Joseph. So they still don't know, even in verse 4 and following, they still are not going to know what he's doing. So Joseph said to his brothers, "Come near to me, please." And they came near. And he said, because obviously they don't believe it all the way, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt." And then he immediately puts their mind at ease, although I don't know that their mind is going to be at ease for a while, because there's going to be a little while, and if in a couple chapters, there's going to be this, the old deception thing comes out a little bit, and they're going to, well, we'll get to that, but
It
anyway,
may have been decades before their minds went.
yeah. Now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve lives. He sees whether he saw it earlier or not, whether it was always in the back of his mind or not, that he had a bigger plan in his mind than just taking Benjamin. We don't know. But at this moment, because of Judah's intervention, all the pieces are now together whenever they came together. My own hunch is they just came together, and he has this is the dreamer and interpreter, right? So there's this insight that he has, and he now takes it to the point, oh, God is behind all of this, and he figures it out through some divine insight. He sees the larger picture, which they still don't see. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years. There are yet 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. It's been a long 2 years. Think about, I mean, even in the story, when you go back to the beginning, to Joseph being sold, and then ending up as the administrator, from the time that the famine started, what's happened in the story, you get to this point in the story and you go, it's only been 2 years in this famine? Man, oh man, it feels longer than that. God sent me before you. Second time. God sent me before you, says Joseph, to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to keep alive for you many survivors. Third time. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. So he literally pardons them.
And he's seeing the big picture.
He's looked aside from what they've done. He has made me a father to Pharaoh. Interesting. Not a son, but a father to Pharaoh, and Lord of all his house and over all the land of Egypt. Hurry. You'll see that word reappear. Go up to my father. Let's take a look here. Here we are. Let me make this a little bigger. I always forget this part. So here's the middle, here's the Near East. So there's Canaan on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. And there's Egypt down to the southwest. They came from Chaldea, which is the end of that line on the right. Abraham and Terah and Nahor and Haran. I don't know. He die in? It doesn't matter.
God and Haran.
So they went up, they come down, and they've been in Canaan this whole time. But now Joseph is telling them to hurry up, get back to Canaan, to the northeast, and bring the family, because your lives are in danger. And these are the children of the covenant promise. So we've been through this before. Let's see if I can find it. Threats to the covenant. I should have updated the list.
Yeah, that's a few.
Where's my list? Did I miss it?
I
Yeah,
don't
that's
see it
good.
yet.
I've been updating it the whole time and I didn't. Where is it? I don't know. Can't. Oh, there it is. Threats to the covenant.
Can you make that bigger?
I don't know. Can I?
Hey.
So there's the threats to the covenant. 35. Now the famine. Throw that on the bottom of that list. They're in the family itself is in mortal danger. So we've come through, God has preserved this promise, this covenant promise, the promise of chapter 12 and the covenant of chapter 15, through all of these threats to the covenant, all the way through the story of Genesis, harrowing experiences sometimes. Here's another one. Now we have where the family itself is in mortal danger. Because by the implications of what Joseph is saying, they will not survive this famine. If Shechem and the assimilation of the Israelites of the family of Jacob into the intermarriage with the Shechemites means assimilation into the Canaanite world, and therefore the disappearance of the family identity, now we have the mortal danger of the physical disappearance as well. And that's the way I view that offer, the deceptive offer by, was it Simeon and Levi? Simeon and Levi offer to intermarry with the Shechemites. You know, you give us your daughters, we'll give you our daughters, and so on and so forth. Thus obliterating, and those are the words, thus obliterating the distinction. That's it for the family. But then what I think happened was this is a foreshadowing of the conquest. What do we do with people who threaten assimilation with us, intermarriage with us? What are we going to do with those people in Canaan? We're going to wipe them out. Love it or hate it. That's supposed to be the rule in Canaan. And you see that played out in Shechem hundreds of years earlier, when Shechem becomes a threat to the threat of assimilation. I don't need to go on with that. So now there's another one, this physical, mortal danger of literally physical disappearance, poverty. Once the family is impoverished, the cohesiveness breaks down, everything breaks down. You're not going to take the land of Canaan. So Joseph then was sent before them. It's interesting. The famine was used both to get them to Egypt, and it was also the cause of their near extinction as a family group. So, when God puts the squeeze like that, it's a squeeze. And so they can't stay in Canaan. They have to go to Egypt. It just so happens that in Egypt, their own brother is the governor of the land of Egypt. It just so happens also, however, that we sold him into Egypt. So how's this all going to work out? How does this puzzle all come together? And this is how the puzzle all comes together. It's one of the great stories in the history of redemption, in my opinion. And it's a story about redemption or salvation. They're not the same thing, but this is a story about salvation, right? So you're seeing here, there's salvation, capital S, through Christ. There's salvation. And then there's the ever recurring saving acts of God throughout the history of redemption, as he time after time after time preserves and saves his people. And here it is again. Okay, so we have these three times mentioned assertion by Joseph, who, of all the brothers and anybody in the book of Genesis who might have some divine insight into the plan of God, it's not an accident that it's Joseph. I mean, he's the guy, the two dreams that he had, one with his brothers that got him in trouble in the first place, and then with his father and mother. Those two. Then there's the two dreams in the jail with the butler, about the butler and the baker, which he interpreted. And then there's the two dreams with Pharaoh about the corn and the cows, and he interpreted those. So this is the man. If you want answers about what God is doing, what God is thinking, this is the man, and he shows it again right here. How he got this information, I don't think it's just look around you at what happened. I think that He has divine insight. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, thus says your son Joseph. Now Jacob is going to have to go through that. Who? Who are you? God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me. Do not tarry or hurry for the second time. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen. They can't just found out it's his brother. He's just unloading on these guys. I mean, it's telling to the brothers right now. They just found out that it's Joseph, and now he's delivering. Remember how he delivered the master plan to Pharaoh when Pharaoh didn't even ask?
Mhm.
He interpreted the dreams. He didn't even know why he was going into Pharaoh. But the jailer comes in and says, hey, get dressed, shave yourself, pull yourself together. You're going to go stand before Pharaoh. Why? I don't know. Maybe he knew, but what are you asking me for? You'll find out when you get there. So he goes and stands before Pharaoh. And on the spur of the moment, Pharaoh says, I understand you can interpret dreams. Well, it's not in my power. It's God will give you a favorable answer. Tell me your dreams. So he tells him the dreams. No hesitation, no consultation, no time in prayer nor fasting. None of this. Well, let me go think about it for a while and pray about it, and I'll get back to you. On the spur of the moment, instantaneously, he has the divine insight, and he interprets the dreams of Pharaoh as the pre-told story. What's the word for pre-told? I don't know. Of the plan of God, what God is planning on doing. And then after he finishes telling the Pharaoh what the dreams mean, 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine, what does he do next?
He tells them they can have a do.
Tells him what to do about it without even being asked. I'm going to just go back and look at that real quick.
Yeah, that's,
Amazing.
Me too, like Daniel.
yeah, it does.
You
Except for
know,
Daniel, that
Daniel
can't
asked,
dream.
well, the first time Daniel asked him, let me come back to you tomorrow if I've had a chance to pray about it. Well,
Yeah.
here, God just gives him the
Well,
interpretation of the dream.
But here though, Pharaoh gave him the dream. Nebuchadnezzar refused to give them the dream,
Right.
so he had to do some praying to know what the dream was in the first place.
So,
Yeah, so it does remind me of Daniel very much.
so he interprets the dreams in starting in 25. And then he doesn't stop talking. There's got to be people in the room like the jailer. After he interpreted the dreams, all you can do is every moment in front of Pharaoh is probably risky. So you've interpreted the dreams. He's really happy. You're standing next to him because you're the jailer or something, or you're the butler who had the idea in the first place. So maybe he's standing there. So he interprets the dreams well. I mean, he was the one that told Pharaoh, so he's accountable. Maybe they're all standing there and Joseph tells it, and then they're all going, okay, good, let's get out of here, And then he just keeps talking. And I don't know, they're going, shut up, let's go, shut up. I don't have any idea, but I can't imagine anybody wanted to be in that room. This slave just keeps right on talking. Therefore, let Pharaoh select, verse 33, a discerning and wise man, that will be him. Set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh proceed to appoint overseers, and 1/5 that gets very specific. And he gives him the plan for how to survive these, not only survive this famine, but prosper through it. And it'll turn out increase his power and his prestige and his stuff. And so it happens just that fast. He just keeps talking. And that same characteristic comes out right here.
Go down a little bit farther, it says also pleases pleases Pharaoh, the servants. Then Pharaoh says, can we find any man that can do this? Why don't you do it? And I can just imagine all the people in the room, but
Yeah.
the jaw dropped to the floor,
Yeah, they were a bit like the Romans in that, they made you a slave, but that doesn't mean they kept you down. If they would use anybody in any capacity. And so, as I've said before, there are many examples, famous examples of slaves who became freedmen.
Yeah.
And then from freedmen prospered greatly. Paul's family is one of them. They came in as slaves. They were granted their freedom, however they were granted it. And Paul inherited that freedom and the privileges that go with it. And I've given you two examples of that in the New Testament. One is the tribune in the Antonia fortress at the end of Acts, or 3/4 of the way through Acts, when Paul is about to be beaten to death, or he was almost beaten to death. The Romans save him. Now he's going to be scourged by the Romans because they don't know he's a Roman. So he ends up standing before the tribune, and they have this little duel to who's got the higher status.
About mine with great price.
So the tribune says, "Are you a Roman?" "Yes, I'm a Roman." And now the tribune wants to establish who's the superior one here. So he says, "Well, I bought my freedom with a great price," which is impressive. Paul says, "No, I was born a Roman." The difference is that in the Roman times, not necessarily in the Egyptian times, you had this patron-client relationship. So even though you buy your freedom from your master, you have a lifelong obligation to him. You never are you're free, but you're not quite really free.
Yeah.
And so when Paul said, "I was born a Roman," he was saying, I don't got no patron. I'm on my own. And so at that point, it changed the dynamic between those two a little bit. But anyway, there's him. So you got a guy who was probably born a slave, obtains his freedom, gets into the Roman military, becomes the tribune, the commander of 1,000 in the Antonia fortress in Judea, sends him, Paul, to Caesarea Maritima, I think that's how you say it, on the coast, in Samaria, where he will stand before Festus, the governor of Judea. Pontius Pilate was the previous governor of Judea, and Festus was himself a former slave. So you got a Roman who stands before a former slave who's a Roman, who protects him, who then sends him to a Roman governor who's a former slave, who also protects him from the Jews. So,
There's a lot about the slavery system of the biblical times that we don't understand because we did not grow up in a monarchical society, everybody was a slave. Although truly everybody in our present time is a slave, whether they want to admit it or not. We're either slaves of sin or we're slaves of Christ. But the slavery mentioned in the Bible is very different than the American slave system. Similarities, sure, for sure, but very different.
for one thing, it was non-racial.
Yeah.
They would enslave anybody. Anyway, it's another story. That takes us back to Joseph, who just keeps talking. So he's just told him that he's the brother, he's Joseph. Now he's revealed the information like he did with Pharaoh. Now he's going to go on to the plan, which in my view, he didn't even know he had before this moment. Just like he didn't know the plan for Pharaoh before he interpreted the dream 10 seconds ago. But who knows? Anyway, do not tarry, go up to Canaan. You shall dwell in the land of here's the plan. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen. You shall be near me, you and your children and your children's children, and your flocks and your herds and all that you have. Don't leave anything behind. If you leave anything, don't imagine that you can, just send some of you up here and we're just going to do this thing where you go ferry stuff from Egypt to Canaan throughout the course of the famine. No, we're not playing that. You're going to relocate. You're all going to come to Egypt.
That almost foreshadows the Exodus itself. Not a hoof should be left behind.
Yes, I agree. The foreshadowing of the Exodus experiences and the conquest is all over these chapters of Genesis. I pointed out a bunch of them.
What's kind of interesting too is the fact that he tells them you're gonna stay in the land of Goshen, which is probably considered some of the best land in Egypt. There was a lot of cattle and stuff, but it was, he said it before he really got permission from Pharaoh, you know. But when Jacob went to Pharaoh, Pharaoh goes, you can live in the land of Goshen. And, so basically, he predicted they were gonna live in the land, you know, where they're gonna live before Pharaoh actually gave them permission to
And
live there.
and administer my livestock if you want. We'll get back to that. Okay, there I will provide for you, for there are yet 5 years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have do not come to poverty, which you take here to mean the threat of basically extinction of the family. The family's not going to survive this. The famine was meant to be this severe. And so you are being driven into the land of Egypt. I'll tell you how you can see how long the stuff lasts. It's been 2 years and they've already run out of the stuff that they got before. And they needed to come back again. I mean, you don't know how long that lasted, but now your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see. Benjamin is the unspoken center of the stage. In a sense, the main character that never speaks in this book, period. That is my mouth that speaks to you. You must tell my father of all my honor in Egypt and of all that you have seen. Hurry, third time. Bring my father down here. Then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck and wept. And Benjamin wept upon his neck, and he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. After that, his brothers talked with him. So it's it's the greatest family reunion in the Bible.
Mhm.
Unbelievable story. Now, at this point, what does Joseph understand about the covenant, and the brothers understand about the covenant promise? There's no indication that Jacob ever passed the inside of the covenant. I will make of you a great nation, and so on and so forth, to the brothers. And there certainly is no evidence that they knew about it, given their behavior.
Wasn't communicated after God communicated to Joseph.
No, he's gonna-
communicated.
He's going to do it again here in a minute, but and as far as Joseph goes, he was gone by 17. So if he finds out about it, he's going to find out about it from God himself or from from Jacob. But we just don't know. My guess is not much at this point. He will by the end of the book because of the famous last verse, or second to the last verse. The promise that Joseph, the promise that the brothers have to make to Joseph about his bones and where he will, and what happens in the Exodus. They take him with them.
Because of you.
Every last detail of that promise gets fulfilled in Exodus. We'll get there because we're probably just going to continue on. Let's see. I missed a verse here. I missed a point here. Yeah, I missed it right here. Look at this word right here. God has made me a father to Pharaoh.
Is that why he could give them Goshen without getting Pharaoh to say it first?
No, he can give them Goshen because he has that kind of power.
Yeah.
And now he's gonna go in and he's gonna talk with Pharaoh, and he's gonna say, "Hey, here's my plan. I just need your blessing on it." And we're gonna hear that in a minute. I mean, there's an unspoken conversation here, and that is the one between Joseph and Pharaoh. But the point is that Joseph was quite a bit older than Pharaoh.
He was.
God has made me a father to Pharaoh. Not God has made me a son to Pharaoh.
No, I guess I've never seen it in the sense of age. I've just seen it in the sense of counsel.
Those guys took this age thing real serious. I mean, we think that way now. You know, I know it's argument from silence, but he doesn't say God has made me like a father.
Yeah.
Pharaoh views me as his father. That's how I see this, which would also mean counselor. Given the
Pharaoh must
interest.
have been awfully young, because Joseph wasn't that old.
So when Pharaoh, if that's true, if Pharaoh was that, he was 30. When Joseph stood before Pharaoh, he's got this kid standing in front of him as king of Egypt, who needs some help. Now you can understand why they'd be desperate. If true, you can understand why they'd be desperate enough to bring in a Hebrew slave from the dungeon on the off chance that this guy might have some ideas here. Because if he's what I think he is, because they did that, you could inherit it as a kid. Now it would make more sense that this young Pharaoh would say, boy, we really need some help here. So you're it. That's what I think. I could totally be right. It doesn't really matter that much, but I like the stuff that if you read reality between the lines, the way things work in life, and it makes sense within the context of the story. You know, it helps you understand these stories about real people going through real trials, who are just trying to get through, and who may not have any larger sense of what on earth is going on around them than we would today. But they don't have to.
One day we're gonna get a chance to talk to Joseph.
Yeah.
So we can ask these questions.
Do we know which Pharaoh was during this period?
I think I was watching a YouTube video, and YouTube's never wrong.
Oh,
So, you know, and they did mention who it would have been, but I don't remember his name. Somebody can,
I was trying to look up here and they say Hyksos,
that would be
but
the family group.
they only mentioned that because he was favorable towards foreigners.
So there was so this is Hyksos right here, the territory.
Oh.
Is there a pharaoh named Hyksos?
Reading.
maybe it's King Tut.
Yeah, he's the boy king.
Okay, that's a Steve Martin reference for those of you that are not
Sorry.
60 some odd years old. Steve Martin was a comedian and actor in the 70s and 80s. For those of you who know.
And he was very funny.
I had his album Let's Get Small. Because you would do that. I bought the record of his, like you'd buy a Blu-ray today of some comedians. You just watch on YouTube or something, some comedians speak. Back then you bought it, you bought an album that was the concert
Mhm.
that he did his comedy in. We're a little bit off the track
Yeah,
here.
I hadn't realized he was a great banjo player too.
Yes, it still is. He still plays. Yeah, he's a world-class banjo player.
Lots of things to learn on YouTube.
Okay, so there's this great reunion, and I don't have any more to say about that. I will say this. Notice how the narrative has just slowed down.
Yeah.
Of all the things, this part of the story, this is the family history right here, warts and all. He doesn't leave out. The story of Judah is told right there before Egypt. The story of Judah and Tamar is told. There's no doubt about Judah being mentioned in the plot to kill or enslave Joseph, sell off Joseph. None of this stuff is kept back. All of it is told, warts and all. And then you end up in this and it's precisely probably because of that, because of what we knew about Judah. If you didn't know that Judah was responsible for the plan in the first place to kill off Joseph, or that he was the leader of it, this wouldn't have as much meaning. But given this reunion between Joseph and Judah is greater than the reunion between Joseph and Benjamin, because there's this forgiveness element to it. and everybody being able to see the larger plan. So all of that was necessary to get to this moment when we find out about this transformation, maybe on the spur of the moment, I don't know. This transformation in Judah and this reconciliation between the brothers.
You know, for the most part, biblical narrative moves rather quickly. So when you have these spots that slow down, you know it's important.
It can be difficult to figure out why it's important, and sometimes it's best not to speculate on it, just to understand it. Sometimes you do, but
One thing too is the fact that you wonder how much Abraham revealed
Yeah.
to Isaac, because God told him that this was gonna happen. Told Abraham back in, since 15. And you wonder how much he passed that down to Isaac and then Isaac, Jacob, and so forth.
all three of those brothers got personal appearances by God to restate the covenant promise. I will well, not just the covenant, but the promise of chapter 12. I will make of you a great nation, and so on. It's all three of them.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the fact that they're gonna be in Egypt.
Oh, that
Right,
part.
Spoken to Abraham, and it's not necessary.
Well, obviously Jacob wasn't going, oh, I know what's going on here. I'll bet that's Joseph. And this is all part of God's plan to bring us down into Egypt so that 400 years from now, we can come out and take back the land of Canaan. Ain't none of that going on in his mind.
And then when you think about the fact that this is being written after the fact, hundreds of years after the
Yeah.
fact, by, during the time of the Exodus, I assume by Moses, that, Moses is getting a better understanding of the big picture than is necessarily the patriarchs as they're living through.
Which he didn't know prior to the burning bush
Right.
or even after. What did Moses know and when did he know it? And the answer is he knew what he needed to know when he knew it.
He wrote by
That's what he knew.
direct revelation. He may not have known it until he was writing it. No.
My own view is this is all family chronicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pass this stuff down. They just forget about it. Like the law of Moses all the way to the time of Josiah. It's there. It's just it's been lost from national consciousness. These guys took their family history really serious. You can tell by their use of genealogies. Did Luke and Matthew get divine insight on the genealogies? Or did those families keep their genealogies?
Has to be both. Because if it's written scripture, then it's divine insight.
When the report, now we're back to see this moving plot scene, right? It goes from one place to another. Now it's going to move to Pharaoh's house. When the report was heard in Pharaoh's house, Joseph's brothers have come. It pleased Pharaoh and his servants. What did they know about Joseph? They may have known what happened to him. And they may have thought it was a great thing that there's this reconciliation with his family. What's interesting about Pharaoh is he does not view their arrival as a threat that he has to worry about. There's no point in this story when there's any doubt introduced about Joseph's fidelity and loyalty to Pharaoh. In Pharaoh's mind, he's going to make the offering. Wait till you see the offer he makes to Joseph, the invitation that he makes to Joseph. It pleased Pharaoh and his servants, and Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, okay, so here, let's see. He's already said to them, you shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, and you shall bring everything with you. I will provide for you. Hurry up. Don't wait. So it's no specifics except that he wants them to go to the land of Goshen. Pharaoh's the one who's going to give the specifics. And my hunch is there's an unspoken meeting between Joseph and Pharaoh to work out the details of this, but doesn't matter. Say to your brothers, do this, load your beasts and go back to the land of Canaan and take your father and your households and come to me. Pharaoh, does he say, Joseph says, you shall be near me. So, kind of come to me. Now Pharaoh takes it. Come to me, and I will give you the best of the land of Egypt. Joseph didn't say that, Pharaoh said that. And you shall eat the fat of the land. And you, Joseph, are commanded to say, take wagons from the land of Egypt for your little ones and for your wives, and you bring your father and come. Have no concern for your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. That's the offer from Pharaoh. It's not even an offer, it's an order.
He said, have no concern for your goods, and yet Joseph told him to bring everything.
Yeah, and they're going to bring everything. Some of it's weird in there. We'll get back to it, but
Finding out the getting all their stuff too. You take all take all the Egyptian wagons and go get your family.
yeah. Let's see. The brothers just stand there this whole time, don't say anything. I'm looking through my notes for the first time. You know, is there we'll go back all the way to the beginning, chapter 12, with the promise, I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. And so you'll see this. You see the curse side of that several times. Here you see maybe the blessing side, where the Pharaoh has blessed Joseph. And so now, given that, God has blessed Egypt. And it's possible that Pharaoh understands it, something about it. I don't want to lose the favor. Is that behind what he's doing? I don't want to lose the favor of Joseph's God. You know, I did pretty well with Joseph here. Maybe I'll do 12 times better, 11 brothers plus the father. Maybe I'll do 12 times better if I bring them all here. You know, that's my hunch is, yeah, there's part of a calculation here. I mean, I think it's sincere, but there's also, man, nothing but good can come from bringing these people here. Now, they're not going to say that forever. In about 400 years, they're going to wish they never saw this people before.
Well, you know, the Pharaoh and Joseph might have become good friends. Because basically when Joseph died, new Pharaoh came, you know,
Yeah.
it says the Pharaoh that didn't know Joseph, then that's when they became slaves.
Yeah. Well, also when the threat of famine and so forth wears off, and pretty soon you're thinking, why are we letting this slave be what he is? We're not going to put up with that.
And the start of the Pharaoh and Exodus that didn't know Joseph, and also may have been a different Pharaoh dynasty altogether.
Yeah. There's not been God in this narrative. This happens a lot. Joseph points it out, not the narrator. It was not you who sent me here, but God. It's not the narrator saying it, it's the participant. The narrator, as far as God goes, God is silent through most of this narrative. But his plan is everywhere. And his hand is everywhere. And that's what Joseph has figured out, probably by divine insight.
Yeah, we haven't seen the term Yahweh mentioned throughout.
Yeah,
this chapter.
that's what I said a couple of weeks ago, that Yahweh is going to disappear, the proper name for God, in favor of Elohim, God. And that's probably just got to do with the fact that they're in Egypt.
Yeah.
And kind of the same way that Luke drops the name Saul once Paul begins his journeys into Gentile territory, where he would be known as Paul, which is his Roman name. He drops the name Saul. A lot to talk about between the brothers. A lot of water under the bridge. Pharaoh's invitation is much more generous than Joseph's. It's much more specific too. Pharaoh's going to say, take wagons, bring back your little ones and your wives. So he wants to protect the whole family too. Not just the brothers, not just the father. Do not concern yourselves with your goods. You won't need them. The best of all the land of Egypt is before you. All right, 21. Things moving quickly here. The sons of Israel did so. Oh, sons of Israel. There it is. The sons of Israel. I think I did a keyword search on that. Yeah, sons of Israel. 27 times in the Old Testament. Figures prominently in Genesis, 10 times of the 22. In Joshua, that makes sense, but 4 times in Exodus. And 3 of those are going to be from now on. So there's the 4 occurrences of the sons of Israel. I went too fast there, but I want to finish this today to make up for my sidetrack last week. The sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh, and gave them provisions for the journey. To each and all of them he gave a change of clothes, but to Benjamin he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 changes of clothes. To his father he sent as follows: 10 donkeys loaded with the good things of Egypt, 10 female donkeys loaded with grain, bread, and provision for his father on the journey. I don't know why the females would be the ones to carry grain, bread, and provision. And I don't know what the good things are of Egypt that the others, which I assume are males. But apparently that's the way they rolled back then. Then he sent his brothers away, and as they departed, he said to them,
Yeah,
do not quarrel on the way.
it's always stood out to me.
Yeah.
Because I know you people. Let's put all that behind us. Yeah, let's put all that stuff, but let's put all that intrigue, that family, whatever it was before, let's put all that behind us. This is a new day. You're the sons of Israel. Maybe I'm reading between the lines, but a little too much, but
Yeah.
I don't know what else he could mean by do not quarrel on the way, considering it's the family of treachery. So they went out of Egypt, came to the land of Canaan to their father, Jacob, and they told him, Joseph is still alive, and he is ruler over all the land of Egypt. He has the same response the brothers did. His heart became numb, for he did not believe them. But when they told him all the words of Joseph, and which he had said to them, and when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him, that'd be pretty convincing. That may have been part of the reason for it. Because, the brothers just show up with nothing. Hey, the Lord of the land is Joseph. And he's going, I don't really believe you. I'm not going up there. Look what he already did to us. I'm not going up there. But now you got all this stuff here. So anyway, the spirit of their father Jacob revived, and Israel turns to Israel, said, it is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die.
Somewhere in there, didn't they have to confess that they had a hand in,
You would think so, but it never mentioned.
They already did it.
to Jacob?
They did it in front of Joseph when they didn't realize Joseph
Yeah,
understood.
I mean, to tell
But
their dad.
Jacob.
No, they never tell.
Said that they,
No. I think he thought they were responsible. You have bereaved me of my 2 children, or of my children, and there were 2 of them. Simeon, who is still back in Egypt, and the other is Joseph.
but their father knew him just as well as Jacob just knew.
So that's the story of the family reunion. And now there's going to be a triumphal procession back down to Egypt. There were probably Egyptians there as guard. Joseph would not have gone alone, or the family would not, Joseph didn't go, but the family would not have gone alone, probably. They would have probably been escorted in some fashion, I'm assuming. Well, no, I guess not, because Jacob doesn't look, it doesn't say Jacob looked and saw all the chariots. So he thought, oh, okay. Or maybe he did. That was what made him doubtful. It's like, what are they doing? I don't know. I don't have any idea. But off they go, triumphal return to Egypt for the whole family, which is where they will be when the book ends. So it's going to turn out that the destination for Genesis all along was slavery in Egypt. Triumphantly, willingly, happily. So we'll go ahead and stop there, pick up with 46. We're going to get through, we're going to finish this book by Memorial Day. So we'd have to start thinking about what to do for the summer. as well, because it's gonna be that time. That's it. Thanks for joining. 10:16.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Naomi, Nate, Gabe. Adios.
Thank you.
Adios.